Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that is very disturbing, but it needs to be brought out in the open. It is something that I was not aware of until the past few years, but while it's uncomfortable and it's not something that people like to talk about, it's critical that we get this information out there and to shed light on the issue of child sex trafficking and child abuse, sexual abuse of children. It is a repetitive theme that I see more and more and more. And not only do I want to bring your awareness to it, but I want to give you things to watch out for, give you things to help if you have been a victim, to help you through it, or to help others that have been through it. There are, again, in the past few years, I'd say the past 5 years, it gradually came into my existence. I heard about it through a term called Pizzagate. And at the time, it didn't mean anything to me. I didn't understand it. I just let it go. And then since, it has progressively gotten more and more and more. Well, it hasn't gotten more. My knowledge of it has gotten to be more and more and more. And I have helped people that have been sexually abused. And just the other day, one of my clients gave me permission to share a little bit of an example of what I'm talking about. Because they're dealing with the Boy Scouts of the United States of America, BSA. This client of mine was sexually abused as a child by a scout leader. You might think, oh, well, it's just once, a kid. It happens once in a while. I've been helping this person deal with those issues, deal with getting through that, forgiving the perpetrators, the pedophiles, whatever you want to call it, the people that did this. And in this process, I've kept in touch with them and on their case, because they have a case against the Boy Scouts. And the other day they told me, because I asked them, I said, well, where's everything stand? How's it going? They're still working on it. They've been working on it for years. They told me initially there were 80,000 cases. 80,000 kids that were assaulted by a scout leader in some form or fashion. They said it could have been just a touching situation. It could have been complete penetration. In this person's case, it was complete penetration in a very aggressive situation. Brutal situation. And to think about that, and then the last I heard, there was 300,000 children that have crossed the border into the United States that are just missing. How do you misplace 300,000 children? Children are being trafficked. The movie Sound of Freedom came out, was it last year? to help get this out there. Again, it's not something, thankfully, that I experienced in my childhood. It wasn't something that I knew existed until, like I said, about 5 years ago. But in that time, I have met more people in just through what I do, and people that I have come across in, working with veterans and things like that, that have been sexually assaulted. It's not just women. It's women, it's children, it's boys and girls, it's men. I can't tell you how many men go into the service, into the military service, and they're sexually assaulted. They're raped. It's mind-boggling. How many people, and I remember back with my last husband, we were scout leaders. He was a scoutmaster, and I was one of his scout leaders with the Boy Scouts. And I remember having to take a class for 2 Deep Leadership. And at the time, it kind of made sense. I didn't realize the magnitude of it as to why it was so important. Well, when you think about, and the Boy Scout, this person, this client of mine, is in their 60s. It was that long ago that this happened. And it's been probably before that person and since that person. So this has been going on a long time. And when you go back and you think about that, no wonder they've implemented 2 Deep Leadership, which is 2 adults with a child. You can't have 1 child and an adult together by themselves, which is what happened with this client. They were sent to spend the night with a scout leader by themselves. They were the only 2 people. The tent was off in the distance. And, it happened. And in the end, this child was threatened with their life if they said anything. I have multiple clients that were raped, men that were raped as children, that it happened, and then they were threatened with their life if they said anything. Think about being a child and you're threatened if you say anything. So what happens? You're quiet. You don't say anything because you're afraid they're going to kill you. So the behavior continues. Some of these people were raped multiple times by the same person. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's a family member. And so my message to you is be vigilant. If you know somebody, if you have been the victim of rape, there is help for you. And it's not, I know I have heard of cases where people have gone to the police, and then, especially women, and this is one thing where Sigmund Freud, when he understood how your mind works, women would tell him that they had been raped, and he flipped it on them to make them think that it was their fault. They asked for this behavior to happen to them. Nobody asks to be raped. Nobody asks for that. That's not a welcome thing. It is a control thing for the perpetrator. It is a lack of self-esteem for the perpetrator. They need to feel control. They don't respect themselves, so therefore they're not going to respect anybody else. And especially with children can't fight back. You know? So, and then my husband just told me of a video that he watched. He said a lot of this feel-good stuff is coming up for him, which is amazing. But he was telling me about a video that he just watched. A woman was walking through the park, doing a video, and she noticed a young girl walking through the park, and this man following her. So she goes up to she beckons to this girl to come over to her because she can tell the girl is scared because this guy is following her. And she pretends to be the mother and all this kind of stuff. And she tells the man, you need to leave. And he followed them all the way to her car. He finally left. And I'm just like, oh my God. Personally, I hope they called the police because she's got this man on video. But you have situations like that. You have situations where men identify as a woman so they can go in the bathroom, the women's bathroom. Women are being raped in there. Children are being raped in there. Because if you have a young child that is old enough to go by themselves, you don't have to hold their hand, a young, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12-year-old child. You're not going to necessarily have to go with them to the bathroom, but they go and they end up being raped in the bathroom. Or I've heard of situations where you have children that are people that are, I don't want to say disabled, but like they have autism or Down syndrome, and not Down syndrome because somebody would be with them, but they're functioning enough, but they're not 100% there. And I don't mean to offend anybody if this is you or somebody like that. I just am having a hard time putting this into words. But people that they go into the bathroom, men, and they're being assaulted, sexually assaulted. Somebody is trying to rape them. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You be careful. And don't go into fear. I'm not telling you this to be fearful. I'm telling you this to shed light on an issue that has got to stop. It has been swept under the rug for far too long. It has been overlooked for far too long because people don't want to get involved. There are people that have YouTube channels or whatever because they were a victim of sex trafficking, but they have gotten out somehow, some way. They have gotten out of the system, and they tell about their experiences. Some of them have posted pictures. It is not pretty. It is not. You cannot unsee what you've seen. What these children are going through is unspeakable. I could not imagine in my wildest dreams what I saw, because my brain doesn't work like that. Hopefully your brain doesn't work like that. But I'm telling you, I have seen it. I have experienced this with clients, them telling me what they went through. And I can, in a session with somebody, you know whether they're blowing sunshine up your skirt, or they're looking for attention, or they're making stuff up. This is not that at all. This is real. And like I said, it needs to stop. Hopefully now, with our current administration coming into office, hopefully now a lot of this will come out. And I will tell you, I'm still on the fence, and I don't know. It could be a combination of both things, whatever, with North Carolina. What happened in North Carolina was devastating. There were North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina is one of the strongest energy portals in the country, along with Sedona, Arizona. So I don't know if it was the Black Hats destroying an energy center. I've also heard that it was the White Hats clearing out the dumbs, the tunnels underground, and that's why a lot of people weren't allowed to come in to help, because there were bodies coming to the surface. There were children that were being taken. Now, you have two sides to that story. Two possibilities to that story. Supposedly, FEMA or whoever was coming in taking children from people because they couldn't provide housing for kids, which I find to be bullshit, because I know, dealing with CASA before, some of the housing situations are less than optimal, but the whole point is to get the kids back to their parents. They're not in perfect situations, but the important part is to be with their parents. So for FEMA to come in and say, we're going to take your child because you don't have adequate living conditions for them, I'm not buying that one. So why were these children taken? Were they taken to be trafficked? Were they taken because the child was not theirs in the first place? I don't know. If your child was taken and it was legitimately your child, my heart goes out to you. I can't even imagine. I would turn this world upside down before I lost my child. However, not everybody has the means to do that. But know that this stuff is happening. There are underground tunnels all over the place where this behavior is happening. You won't see it necessarily in broad daylight, but what I will tell you, if your child comes home and all of a sudden they're acting strange, they can't sit, or it hurts to sit. I had a roommate one time, her daughter was being sexually assaulted by her own father. She thought it was happening, but she couldn't prove it until one day she went to give her daughter a bath. And her daughter screamed when she went to wash her bottom. She took her to the hospital and they did a rape test, and they proved that this man was raping his own daughter. So of course she did what she needed to do, and he didn't get visitation anymore. But so I'm telling you, it could be a family member. It could be a parent. It could be an aunt or uncle. Usually uncle. Aunts not disregarding aunts, but it could be a scout leader. It could be a police officer. It could be, look how many priests they found out were raping boys in Catholic churches. You know, it could be anything, anybody. It could be your neighbor. So again, if your child starts acting weird, starts withdrawing, starts, like I said, can't sit down for whatever reason, remember, you can ask them what happened. They may not tell you the truth. They may tell you the truth. They might have fallen on something or whatever. Just know this is out there. Because like I said, doing what I do, it's not for me to judge any of it. It's not for me to judge the victims or the perpetrators. It's my job to help whoever comes to me, whichever side of the equation you are on, to help you get beyond it so you can live a free and clear life and drop that baggage. Yes, we need to get the message out there because it needs to stop. Stopping it is part of the equation. Helping the people that have been through it on either side, helping them heal, is the other part of it. So, like I said, that if children come tell you they don't want to spend time with X person, don't make them spend time with X person. Because one of my clients didn't want to go see their uncle because their uncle was raping them from the age of 5 or 6. And threatened them when they called home to beg their parents to come pick them up. They blew it off, said, no, you'll be okay. The uncle took them downstairs and laid them on a table saw, and turned the saw on and threatened them with their life, that they would kill them if they said anything again. So this child lived in fear most of their life. So again, if your child calls you, if your child says, I don't want to go see whoever, don't make them go see whoever. I don't care what the reason is. They might be telling you the truth. They might have to make something up. If they cry every time they're told you have to go see whoever, there's a reason. Don't blow it off. If an adult, if you're a woman and you have been raped and you have been told, well, you asked for it. Now, I'm going to tell you, some of these people, if you dress the way you dress, if you act the way you act, you get what you get. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but dress appropriately. Respect yourself, because if you don't look like you respect yourself, why do you think somebody else is just going to respect you? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that literally have been raped because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or they were in an abusive relationship, or whatever. It's not your fault.